Hello everyone. Welcome to the What If Anime YouTube channel. Today, we're diving into an exciting new story that will take your imagination to the next level. Let's get started. What if Naruto was the son of Dolphin Queen, Naruto the Sea Prince? Adult parties are boring. A 5-year-old Sasuke grumbled as he made his way through some tall grass. He pushed the cattails and shrubbery away with his small hands as he went deeper and deeper into the thicket. I want to go swimming. The young Uchiha gave an impish grin. Come on, Mr. Rory. He paused to dangle his favorite stuffed green dinosaur in one hand while stripping down to his blue boxers. It'll be fun. After tossing his clothes aside, Sasuke shoved his plush underneath his arm and raced faster towards a hidden grotto. Hooray, we made it. The young boy let his eyes take in the gorgeous scenery before him. On his left was a cascading waterfall that fell about 60 feet. Its crest was lined with slick rocks, moss, and various small plants. Its sound was soothing to the ear, but young Sasuke knew not to play there. So he quickly took off to the right, darting in and out of the sprout, ooting greenery until he came to a smaller sparkling bed of water. It was circular in size, about 15 feet across, 3 feet deep, and outlined by smooth rock. The far left end flowed into the river which connected to the waterfall. Sasuke's onyx eyes followed the calm water to the edge, but gave a slight shudder when it became more intense. Now, Mr. Rory, you can't play on that side, he lectured his stuffed friend. Mommy says that waterfalls aren't for small dinosaurs. Sasuke placed Mr. Rory on the edge and then jumped in. Brr, he shook his black hair and rigorously rubbed his ivory shoulders. It's cold. He gave his silent friend an evil smirk. Don't think you're staying dry. He reached over and pulled Mr. Rory in, instantly drenching the poor animal. Gotcha. Sasuke laughed merrily while splashing around. Now you're just as wet as I am. The boy dumped his head and began to swim blindly throughout the pond. Hey, Mr. Rory. Sasuke emerged imitating a water fountain from his lips. Quote. Want to look for fish? The dinosaur just floated along, its white, felt teeth now suctioned to its dark pink upper jaw. I bet I could find a bigger one that you can. Sasuke dived once more, intending to do just that. Come on, Naruto. A small voice called after a rambunctious 5-year-old blonde. We have to finish collecting these plants before anyone sees us. Yeah, Naruto scoffed while pulling himself onto some large rocks. I don't know why you worry so much. He placed a whiskered cheek in his palm and sighed. No one ever comes around here. The blonde glanced at the familiar outcropping around him. Before him a cloud of misty steam gathered at the base of the waterfall. Lush trees and colorful flowers dotted the landscape, some in clumps whereas others stood alone in the fertile ground. Shade dominated the edges of the pool, but the sun warmed its center. Birds and butterflies fluttered cheerfully, one landed on the blonde's nose. That may be true, but if someone ever does, we don't want to be here. She nervously ran her fingers through her long dark purple hair as she watched her friend find a comfortable place on the rocks. Her eyes AYS went to the half light blue and part indigo tattoo across his back. It was meant to represent the ocean and be a consistent reminder of who he was, an Aquarian. A creature, with the upper half of a human and the lower half of a dolphin. That was also connected and restricted to a predetermined grotto. His ears sported small fins which fanned out, making them look like small Chinese fans. Similar fins protruded from his elbows. All of his fins fluctuated between various hues of blue depending on how the sun hit them or how the water reflected off of them. His sunshine hair fell loose and his EYS shimmered with the most beautiful and exotic blue, making the crystal clear water appear dull. Across his tanned face was an intricate, painted design housing the colors of white, blue, and a dash of light purple. The image itself was mainly curves and drawn to resemble ribbons. It continued down the right side of his slender neck but faded at his bare shoulders. Naruto's grayish-blue dolphin tail fanned playfully against the rocks. Let's play a game. He smiled brightly. No, Naruto. Hinata scorned while swimming up to the rock where Naruto was perched. Your mother is expecting us to return shortly. Naruto rolled his eyes and puffed out his cheeks. You're so obedient, the blonde mocked. I suppose that's why your mother likes me. Hinata smiled and then climbed beside Naruto. And hopefully why you like me too. She blushed, causing Naruto to blush as well. Do you think I'm pretty? Of course I do, Hinata. Naruto watched some water droplets glide down her body. The young girl's face was painted similarly to Naruto's, but her colors were light purple, dark purple, and silver. Her amethyst eyes fluttered closed as she listened to the birds sing. You're the prettiest girl in this grotto. Flattery isn't going to get you out of doing this chore, she uttered before opening her eyes and looking straight at Naruto. I know you don't like doing these simple tasks, but once we mature, things will be different. How many times must your mother and I keep telling you that? I know, Naruto moped, but since we are still kids, let's have some fun. He jumped off the rock, splashing Hinata in the process. Hey, the girl wiped at her eyes. Looks like someone's a little slow on their reaction time, Naruto teased. Now, don't tell me you didn't see that one coming. Don't think you're going to get away with that. She leapt in and began to chase the boy throughout the nature-made pool. Mr. Rory, Sasuke called out as he searched frantically around the small pond. Where did you go? Suddenly, the young raven caught a glimpse of his beloved stuffed animal caught in the rough waters. Oh, no, he bit down on his lower lip. I have to get him before he goes over the waterfall. Sasuke quickly looked at his surroundings. Unfortunately, everything was soaked from his previous splashing around. The best thing to do is to swim to him, he said bravely. Don't worry, Mr. Rory, I'll save you. After taking a deep breath, Sasuke made his way towards the angry waters. Looks like I have the upper hand now, Hinata cockily replied as she held Naruto's tail in her grasp. Well, the blonde flapped his tail in a defeated manner. I let you catch me. Sure you did. She released her prisoner and then glided over to pick up her bag. It's getting late, we better get going. Already, Naruto sulked. I want to stay longer. Come on, Naruto. Hinata gave a sweet smile. Get your bag, even if it is empty. Very funny, Hinata. He slowly swam over to the base of the waterfall, but just as he was about to grab his bag, something hit him on the head. He looked around expecting nothing more than a large ball of seaweed, but his curiosity was piqued when his eyes settled on a stuffed green dinosaur. What is this? He picked up the strange object. Hinata, what do you think this is? He spun around only to be answered by the sounds of nature. He simply shrugged his shoulders and let his eyes stare in awe at the magnificent waterfall. Is this from up there? Suddenly, his ears twitched when he heard a desperate cry. He tilted his head and squinted his eyes, determined to see something. Help! Sasuke kicked his legs and swam the best he could, but the raging undertow refused to let him go. Mommy, Daddy, he screamed out, but his cries were muffled by mouthful after mouthful of water. Someone help me! Sasuke flailed tirelessly as the foreboding edge drew closer. Come on! Naruto jumped impatiently at the base of the waterfall. His eyes locked above him. Where are you? A voice cried out as the form of a small boy passed over the edge and fell rapidly downward. The wave crashed mere inches next to Naruto and then slowly began its descent. Instantly Naruto dove in after the human, intending and wanting to save the young boy. The blonde wrapped his arms around the boy's waist and then brought them up, hooking his arms under the boy's armpits. Once the boy's head cleared the water, Naruto helped him to a small cave behind the waterfall. Then, the blonde pulled the boy onto the smooth rock and climbed up next to him. This'll be a good place for you to thank me, Naruto panted while dragging the boy further away from the slippery edge. The cave was mostly dark except for one corner. The setting sun's rays highlighted a path that was overgrown with wild grasses and sections of dirt. The trail once provided an easy way for humans to go between the higher and lower levels of the hidden paradise. Water trickled down from the jagged rocks, making the place damp, and most of the rocks were covered with moss. The only dry spot was near the bottom of the hill. The blonde looked about for a closer option. Great, he sighed. That's my only choice. After chewing on his bottom lip for a few seconds, Naruto grasped the boy's shoulders and hauled him over. Once there, the blonde lifted the boy's head and laid it gently back on the soaked plush. That works. He gave a slight nod and adjusted the boy into a comfortable laying position. Wow, a real human. Naruto's sapphire eyes traveled the length of the boy. I wonder what his name is. The boy was roughly the same size and build as the blonde Aquarian. His raven-colored hair was matted against a delicate, pale face. His eyes were closed and his mouth partially opened. The boy's small chest was still slick from his recent water adventure and his boxers were twisted around his thighs. Ah, hello, Naruto. O lightly poked the boy's nose and was surprised by how SPFT his skin was. Then, the blonde placed his head next to the boy's left ear and gently blew into it. No reaction. Next, using his fingers, Naruto traced the human's shoulders and arms. Your arms are made for swimming. The blonde cheerfully stated loudly. Still, no reaction from the human. And Hinata thinks I have a loud voice, apparently not. He sat back on what would be his hunches, if they weren't combined to create his tail. I wonder if a human's legs are as strong as an Aquarian's. Naruto reached for one of Sasuke's thighs and squeezed. Nope, a tail is much better. The blonde flicked his own proudly. So how about you wake up now? Naruto shook the boy gently. You're so fascinating. Naruto waited in silence for a minute before erupting. Come on. Wake up. The small human just laid there. You're not very fun. Naruto pounded the boy's chest. Gah, what's wrong with you? Suddenly, the blonde relaxed his hands and cocked his head to one side after feeling a stilled chest beneath his fingers. Wait a minute, aren't humans supposed to breathe? He put his ear next to the human's mouth. No warm breath filled the still air. What do I do if he's not breathing then? The blonde anxiously gazed at the boy. No, he's not. The blonde laid the back of his fingers along one of the boy's cheeks. I know, maybe he just forgot how to breathe. Quickly Naruto placed his fingers on the boy's chin and lifted it. Then he pushed on the boy's cheeks to make the little mouth widen. I hope this works. After taking a deep breath, the blonde crushed his lips against the young boy's and then started to fill the human with much-needed air. Unconsciously Naruto's other hand seeked out the boy's hand and clutched onto it in support. Oh, Hinata, a beautiful Aquarian female swam up to the young girl. Her reddish-brown hair flowed playfully through the deep waters while her cobalt eyes sparkled with excitement. Wave tattoos circled her upper arms, the pattern smaller and more feminine than her son's. Her face was decorated with blues and greens to match both the flower in her hair and the seaweed construct. Head top that hugged her bosom as well as her bottom. Unlike Naruto, Kushina had 2 legs with fins on each calf and both her fingers and toes were webbed. Did you and Naruto get the plants that I needed? We did, Kushina. Hinata held out her bag for inspection. See, you collected more than enough. Kushina happily took the bag. Thank you. Where is Naruto? He's right behind me. The GIRL spun around and when she was met with nothing, she turned back, a little embarrassed. At least, I thought he was. Seems Naruto's becoming more and more like me, I fear. Kushina laughed. Perhaps, we'd better find him before his father finds out that he's still topside. I'll get him. Hinata spun around quickly. It's my fault for not making sure he was with me in the first place. All right, Kushina called after the girl. Just come to my house once you get him. There's something I want to discuss with the both of you. Sasuke felt the most wonderful breeze enter his body. It filled him with all the power and beauty of the ocean. And soon, the young Uchiha's mind was overflowing with images of a world unlike his own. He saw underwater homes, schools made of coral, where children who not only played with fish, but had tails like them as well. Everything was covered in a blue-green tint and blurry. Sasuke was just about to say something to a little fish girl, when suddenly, a mouthful of water gushed from his lips. Are you okay? Naruto asked as he backed away slightly. Mommy, cough. Daddy, cough. Sasuke sputtered as he turned on his side to spit the rest of the water from his bluish lips. Mr. Rory. They aren't here. Naruto replied. Who's Mr. Rory? He curiously asked. He's my stuffed dinosaur. The young raven smoothed away his matted bangs. I was trying to catch him before he went over the waterfall. Oh, he's your pillow. The blonde reached behind the boy to retrieve the plush while Sasuke blindly patted the ground for Mr. Rory. Where is he? Sasuke whimpered. Here. Naruto put the animal in Sasuke's seeking hand. I still can't believe you're here. No one's ever fallen like that from the upper world. The blonde sat next to the human and grinned happily. The best part is that he's a kid like me, which means I could talk to him since my dad says only big humans are not to be trusted. You mean I actually fell? Sasuke's eyes shot wide open. Yep, Naruto boldly pressed his nose against Sasuke's nose. But don't worry, I caught you. He clamped his hands around Sasuke's hands before continuing, and I helped you breath again. My name's Naruto. What's yours? Before Sasuke could speak, he blinked multiple times as if taking in all of the young boy's features. Ru-2. Sasuke's head drooped to one side, but his gaze never left the painted, tanned face in front of him. His onyx eyes looked glazed over as he repeated Naruto's name 2 more times. That's right, Naruto's eyes sparkled. And you are? Sasuke's remained quiet as tears filled his eyes. Are you all right? The blonde scrunched his brow, unsure what to do next. No, Sasuke shook his head. I'm not fine. Mommy and Daddy are going to be really mad at me. He wrapped his arms tightly around Mr. Rory and brought the animal up to cover his face. Don't cry. Naruto put his hands over Sasuke's and together they lowered the plush, revealing a blubbery face. Just come up with a good story. A story, the raven sniffed. Uh-huh, Naruto gave a quick nod. If you tell one wild enough, it'll make your parents forget why they were yelling at you in the first place. You're weird. Sasuke used his palms to dry his eyes. I'm not, Naruto rebutted. At least I introduced myself. Huh, oh. Sasuke smoothed out his boxers before stating in a very formal manner, I'm Sasuke. Uchiha Sasuke, Uke. The blonde repeated 3 times as he stared at the pale boy, imitating Sasuke's reaction from earlier. Where are your legs? The raven put his hands on Naruto's aquatic tail, jolting Naruto out of his trance-like state. Sasuke's hand skimmed along the smooth surface and stopped briefly to tug at the blonde's dorsal fin. You look like a mermaid. And why is your face covered with funny paint? I don't get my legs until I'm an adult. Naruto lectured. As for the paint, it's my parents' wish that I wear it. Sasuke quirked a brow. I know, the paint is a little excessive. The blonde scratched at his hair sheepishly. But I can't say no to my mom. She's the one that does it. Although my dad thinks it's a little too girly. Naruto rat. She led on until the raven touched the blonde's cheek and began to trace the elegant design. They feel smooth. Sasuke's hands continued down Naruto's neck until... Sasuke, a woman's wary voice called out. Where are you, Sasuke? A man's stern voice shortly followed. Mommy, Daddy, the young boy answered before jumping to his feet. I'm down here. Oh no, Naruto's eyes darted toward the dirt slope. Those are his parents. I can't let them see me. He started back towards the safety of the water. Sasuke. Makoto shimmied down the incline, her purple dress billowing around her SLE and her legs while her jet black hair flapped loosely behind her as well as her husband, Fugaku. He was dressed in a dark blue kimono, his expression grim as he watched his wife coddle his second son. Oh Sasuke, she pulled the young boy into a tight hug. Your father and I were so worried when you didn't show up for your usual cheesecake and tomato juice. I'm fine, Mommy. Sasuke pushed against Makoto's small bosom. How did you get down here? His father asked strictly. You've been told to stay near the house. I'm disappointed in you, Sasuke. But Daddy, Sasuke whimpered. Shish. The elder Uchiha whipped out a dagger. We're not the only ones in this cave. Naruto gulped as he quickly pulled himself between 2 large rocks, hoping that the human male would only see the outlines of simple stone and not the shape of an aquarion. Oh my, Makoto held the raven close. Who's there? Fugaku expertly threw the weapon into the shaded rocks. You better not have hurt my son. The dagger caught and embedded itself just above Naruto's tail fin. The blonde bit hard on his lip, not wanting to make a sound. I said who's there? Show yourself. Daddy, Sasuke yelled. Don't hurt my friend. Quiet Sasuke. His father glared at the boy, which caused Sasuke to instantly clam up. No one could live here. It's a cave, Sasuke, not a home. Sasuke averted his eyes shamefully. Keep talking, Sasuke, Naruto thought. You have to keep his attention while I get this out. The blonde paled at the sight of his own blood pooling beneath him. Please, Daddy, the young boy called out. He saved me. Fugaku turned to face his son. He's a blonde dolphin. Saved you. Makoto held Sasuke out at arm's length. What do you mean by that? Mister, Rory got swept away from me when I was playing and I tried to rescue him. Sasuke sniffled, but after I fell down the waterfall, Naruto saved me. Oh Sasuke, Makoto wailed, you must have been so scared. I was mommy, but my friend helped me and now I'm okay. Sasuke gave a small smile. That's a ridiculous story, Sasuke. His father narrowed his eyes. But it's the truth. The young raven clasped his hands into tiny fists. Even if you did go over the waterfall, you survived because of your strong blood and family lines. I will not have my family laughed at because my second son believes he was saved by some water creature. The eldest Uchiha started towards Naruto once more. Come on. Naruto continued to struggle with the dagger. His small cries turned into desperate sobs as he sensed the large human approach him. Stop, Daddy, Sasuke whined onto deaf ears. You'll scare him away. Suddenly a large splash came from the opposite side of the grotto. Hinata, Naruto gave a sigh of relief as he finally tore the dagger out and then dove into the deep pool. Now what? Sasuke's father quickly changed directions and headed for the newly heard commotion. There's nothing here. He glared at the now calm waters. Honey, Makoto spoke up. Sasuke's soaked to the bone. Let's take him home. All right, Fugaku muttered while standing. But first, I need to get my dagger. He walked over to where Naruto once was in. D stopped short when he discovered a circle of fresh blood and some scales. He picked up the scales using the blood-covered dagger. What the hell kind of fish has scales this big and bleeds this profoundly? Fugaku, Makoto stood with Sasuke. It's been a long day. Well, I hit something. The eldest Uchiha turned towards his family. Looks like I was right. He held up the blood-stained weapon. Something else was here. However, I don't think it'll get very far before it dies. Naruto, Sasuke wailed. No, shish. Makoto wrapped her arms around her son. Fugaku, stop scaring Sasuke, she yelled. He's been through enough today. Fugaku rolled his eyes at his wife while wiping off his bloodied dagger with the edge of his kimono. Sooner or later Sasuke will have to learn what blood is. He's 5. Sasuke's mom came to the young Uchiha's defense. He was nice to me and, the young raven sobbed. Calm down, Sasuke, Makoto cooed softly. I'm sure that whatever your father was throwing his dagger at was not your friend. Really? Sasuke's eyes grew large as he looked hopefully at his mom. Fugaku picked up his son. I don't want to hear any more of this. He clipped. From either of you. Makoto nodded as Sasuke tried to hold in his tears. Fugaku then reached for his wife's hand and helped assist her back up to solid ground. Oh my gosh. Hinata held her hand in front of her mouth as she watched Naruto's young blood fill the water around them. Are you okay? The blonde shook his head, but his eyes told a different story and remained locked on his wound. Don't tell my parents, Naruto gritted out as he lovingly held his tail. They'll never understand. Why didn't you follow me? Hinata swooped down to grab a fistful of strong seaweed. If you did, none of this would have happened and I wouldn't have looked foolish in front of your mom. Naruto winced as she began to wrap the injury. He needed my help. Naruto brushed off Hinata's anger. Sasuke, he was so curious about me as I was about him. You didn't tell him anything, did you? Of course I answered his questions. What kind of friend would I be if I didn't? Naruto gave a quick flap of his tail, testing the mended appendage. Thanks Hinata. The blonde smiled, but soon lost his enthusiasm as the girl started to weep. What's wrong? Imprinting. Hinata bit out. Imprinting. The blonde raised a baffled brow. What's that? Something that'll change your life forever. Hinata sadly answered. And mine too. I can't wait until we get there. A young lady of 20 years squealed with delight. I've never spent the whole summer in the country before. Her emerald eyes were glued out the passenger window of a black pickup truck. On each side of the 4-lane highway were numerous grassy knolls, hundreds of trees. And most of the flowers were nearing full bloom. The scenery is breathtaking. She called into the wind as her bubblegum pink hair whipped wildly around her face. Quote, this place is heaven for a blossoming botanist like me. She stuck her head out the window, wanting to take in all of nature's glory. "Would you stay in your seat, Sakura?" Sasuke muttered as he placed a pale hand on her thigh. "I don't want to start the summer out with a trip to the hospital because my fiancé was too zealous about the landscape." The girl turned toward the driver and smiled. She loved that word, fiancé. "I'm not going to fall out." Sakura pouted before grudgingly sitting back against the plush of her seat. "It's not my fault that this place is perfect." She glided a loose strand of hair behind her ear as she lovingly took in the sight of the man she was going to marry. Sasuke was wearing a black hoodie with three-quarter sleeves and, of course, the infamous Uchiha fan was centered on the back. His lean legs were covered by black, baggy jeans and on his feet were black sandals. The top of his ears sported two silver earrings and his hair was spiky in the back with long, straight bangs on each side of his ivory face. Sakura loved how Sasuke always dressed in black, but even after 6 years of dating, she still didn't know why his left hand was tattooed with a light and dark blue swirl that was nestled on the soft flesh between his thumb and forefinger. She had tried many times to ask about its origin, but the answer she got was always the same: it's just a birthmark. She knew there was more to the story, but didn't drone on the fact. However, every time she touched it, it felt cool and soothing like the ocean. "Well, Sakura began. "I bought this dress just for today because I wanted this trip to start off right." "It's going fine." Sasuke entwined his fingers with Sakura. "But after driving for 5 hours, who wants the last hour to take half the time?" He smirked as he pushed his foot further down on the accelerator. "Sasuke!" Sakura shrieked. "Not so fast. Our stuff." Sasuke glanced in the rear-view mirror and saw that the mid-size U-Haul was still trailing securely behind them. "The trailer can handle the speed. Don't stress over it. I'll try." But Sakura looked over her shoulder to verify for herself that everything was still there. "I can't write my thesis paper without my notes and school books. Plus, there are a lot of other things back there too." She whispered into Sasuke's ear. "You know, things we both like." Sakura purred, making the raven's pants suddenly seem a few sizes too small. "Oh, by the way, have you decided on a topic for your thesis yet? There must be lots of things to write about in the world of marine biology." "There are, but I haven't found the right subject yet." Sasuke turned off the highway and onto a 2-line county road. "So I'm hoping to find something interesting around the house. Speaking of, it should only be about 15 more minutes until we get there." "Hooray," the girl replied happily. Quote. Naruto's gaze remained locked on the very place he saved Sasuke's life so many years ago. He was lying on his back, propped up on his elbows. His tail had also been replaced with legs that were outstretched upon the damp, earthen ground. Seaweed wrapped around his groin, but the rest of his tanned body remained bare. A flat stomach led to muscular thighs and calves. The blonde's hair was kept wispy and still remained as vibrant as ever. Naruto's azure eyes had deepened in color, along with the hues in his face paint, which now extended down the length of his left arm. The tattoo on his back formed beautifully to the adult dimensions of his broad back and shoulders. His fingers and toes were slightly webbed, but appeared normal from a distance, and his ears still sported those small fins he'd been born with. His elbows and calves had fins shooting out of them which matched the ones by his ears. Everything about Naruto's appearance was perfect in terms of his race, except for the scars on his ankles. "I shouldn't be surprised by your silence." Hinata spoke bitterly towards the ground. "After all, you've been like this ever since that day." "I don't get it." Naruto suddenly sat up and locked eyes with her. "You said that imprinting was supposed to connect Aquarians and humans. So, why hasn't Sasuke come back here?" "Naruto." Hinata cupped the blonde's face with both hands. "Stop wishing for this stranger to come back into your life." "I can't." Naruto averted his eyes. "He isn't who you need." She leaned in to kiss him gently on the lips. "I am great." Sasuke grumbled. "What's wrong?" Sakura looked at a deep red Hummer that was parked on a dirt path and then back to Sasuke. Her brows scrunched in confusion. "Whose car is that?" "My brother's." The raven muttered as he maneuvered his truck behind the monstrous vehicle. Sakura's jaw dropped. "But I thought, this is my parents' house, Sakura." Sasuke explained. which means that Itachi has just as much access to it as I do. Sasuke put the truck in park and turned off the engine. The house is too big for just him, so I called and asked if we could live on the bottom floor this summer. He better not bother us. Sakura crossed her arms and sulked like a child. He's not going to ruin our time together. Sasuke reached for her hands and then kissed them along the knuckles. Itachi will be so preoccupied with Deidara that we probably won't even see him at all. Who's Deidara? She raised a curious brow. His live-in boyfriend. The raven leaned in to capture the girl's lips. At least I know he can't steal you away from me. That'll never happen. Sakura eagerly kissed him back. Because I love you too much. Let's get our stuff, Sasuke said while opening the door and stepping out. Sasuke. The girl grabbed the raven's upper arm. When are you going to say it? Say what? The raven asked impassively. That. Sakura averted her eyes. That you love me. Why should I tell you something you already know? Well, the girl bit down on her lip before answering. It's just that I say them to you all the time and I'd really like it if you'd say them to me. Well, Sasuke fumbled for the right words as he tried to free himself from Sakura's hold. I told you not to marry her. Itachi came strolling around his Hummer. He was bare-chested and wearing low-riding denim jeans and old gym shoes. His charcoal hair was pulled back into a low ponytail and his eyes glowed a ruby red. He wore a silver chain around his neck and was covered with grease. By the look on your face, it seems she's asking for something you can't quite give her. He dusted off his hands. I wonder what that is. It's none of your business. Sasuke glowered as he shook off Sakura and slammed the door. So this is your future wife. Itachi eyed the young lady skeptically as she got out of the truck. Hi. The girl extended her hand. I'm Sakura. Itachi. The older Uchiha took the girl's hand. Just follow the trail in front of my car to get to the house. I'll help Sasuke unpack. He headed towards the U-Haul. O.K. Sakura watched helplessly as the two Uchihas disappeared behind the trailer. I suppose I should feel bad for not helping, but he did tell me to go, so. She rounded the huge vehicle and quickly located the path. Hinata. Naruto pulled away from the kiss. You're so beautiful, Naruto murmured into her ear while kneading her saliva-coated orb. You deserve better than me. Damn, Hinata, Naruto stated huskily, his eyes halfway closed. Heat that up and I won't last very long. She licked at her lips and then crawled her way back up the blonde's body until she was face to face with Naruto. You taste wonderful, she kissed him, transferring some of Naruto's taste into the blonde's mouth. Next, she placed butterfly kisses along the blonde's jawline and neck. Sometimes she'd nip and suck at his skin, leaving red marks in her wake. Naruto's arms wrapped around Hinata's smooth back, pulling her closer. I'm not finished yet and neither are you. She cooed into his ear. On her way to the house, Sakura walked by flourishing plant life. The trail was wide enough for 4 people to walk side by side. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, giving the pathway an enchanted look. She smiled while envisioning her and Sasuke walking hand in hand every day down this very path. What am I doing? She did a double blink. I can't stand here all day daydreaming. I want to see the house. She raced down the rest of the path until it opened up to reveal a historic 2-story plantation home. Black shutters surrounded large, rectangular windows while the rest of the house was painted white. There were decks on both levels and a new addition on the right side of the house that looked to hold an indoor pool. 2 chimneys graced the black shingles on the roof and stone steps led to the front door. Gardens of every size covered the front lawn instead of a driveway, and further behind the house on the left was a stable. Horses too. Sakura clasped her hands excitedly. Why hasn't Sasuke talked more about this place? It's like this house just popped right out of a historic romance novel. She gave a dreamy sigh, taking in the imagery. I have to see the inside. She ran toward the front door. I have to say, I was rather shocked by your call about wanting to spend the summer here. Itachi leaned casually against the U-Haul. Yeah, well, Sasuke unbolted the lock and pulled open the door. My independent study requires me to be immersed in nature, something Mom and Dad don't have much of since they live in the city. Plus, I'm 20 years old and engaged. Valid reasons. Itachi glanced over the contents of the U-Haul. Inside were rows upon rows of stacked cardboard boxes. Smaller dressers and desks were wrapped with specially designed packaging tape, along with a halogen lamp, a TV, and 2 bookcases. I wouldn't want to live at home either. Mom and Dad would certainly disapprove of Deidara, but I don't care. This is a good place to keep secrets. I'm not hiding anything. Sasuke grabbed the first box. I just thought that Sakura would like this place. So, you're only here because of her. Itachi raised a brow before taking a hold of a box. Nothing else. The Raven paused to glare at his older brother. Yes, that's it. That's bullshit, Sasuke, and you know it. Itachi gritted out, causing Sasuke to flinch. You're here because of what happened 15 years ago. Just what are you getting at, Itachi? The Raven spat. You're here because of that blonde Dolphin. I knew I shouldn't have told you about that. Sasuke mumbled. Well, you did. Itachi lifted a box and placed it on the ground. And for some strange reason, I feel like I have to talk to you about it. There's nothing to discuss. The Raven clipped. Oh, I think there is. Itachi continued to unload the boxes. Starting with why you have that tattoo. I've learned to deal with it and so should you. Sasuke replied icily. You don't fool me, little brother. That blonde Dolphin is affecting you, and now, before you commit to Sakura, you want to put this mystery behind you. Naruto has nothing to do with it. Sasuke grew flustered. I'm happy with Sakura and I'm not going to let some figment of my imagination ruin what normal life I've been trying to lead. Itachi just stared at the young Raven, clearly reading the denial on Sasuke's face. Why must I always lead, Naruto? Hinata murmured into the blonde's ear. Quote. Wow, Sakura stood agape after she opened the door to the Uchiha house. This is my summer home. She took small steps inside, not wanting to miss anything. Her eyes met with vaulted ceilings that were lined with wooden beams and panels. Ceiling fans circular, ted the air while large bay windows revealed the beautiful scenery surrounding them. The floors were also lined with wood, but some sections were covered with blue or white rugs. Modern lamps and live-lee plants sat on some of the smaller tables, and framed pictures of the ocean and tropical islands hung on hand-painted tan walls. Wicker furniture, consisting of a couch, a daybed, and a table and chairs, dotted the open floor plan with their blue and white cushions, and a mini bar sat off to one side. Sitting on its white marble countertop were 2 wine glasses and a bottle of champagne chilling in a bucket of ice. There was a note leaning against it. That's so sweet. She quickly dashed towards it. I wonder what Sasuke wrote. Sakura was just about to pick up the letter when she noticed the name, Itachi, written on it. She forlornly placed the note. How she found it. Should have known. She girl sighed. Sasuke isn't into romantic stuff like this. Grumble. Guess I'm a little hungry. She glanced around for the kitchen. I'm sure Sasuke won't mind if I grab a little snack before we start unpacking. I can't wait to tell Itachi the good news. A dusty, blonde male was stirring a healthy portion of penne noodles in a large, silver pot. He was wearing a white shirt with long blue sleeves and brown cargo pants. His feet sported flip-flops and most of his hair was pulled into a high ponytail except for a portion that covered the left side of his face. I know he's going to be just as excited as I am. He looked over his shoulder to admire his hard work. On the island, in the center of the kitchen, there was a giant bowl of salad, complete with all the additives such as bacon bits, shredded cheese, sunflower seeds, and Italian dressing. Plus, a plate of French bread, a cheesecake, an assortment of cookies, espressos, and a pot of minestrone soup. There was enough there to serve at least 6 people. Something smells wonderful. Sakura sniffed the air hungrily while her tongue swept over her lips. I didn't know that Sasuke's brother was cooking for us. She walked into the kitchen amazed by the sight of 2 ovens, a stainless steel refrigerator, a huge freezer, and stove. Cabinets with small painted Uchiha fans by their handles lined the perimeter of the room. She stopped for a moment to envision all the delectable treats inside them until she was startled by a young man. Excuse me, she tentatively spoke. Could I request extra garlic? What do I look like, the maid? Deidara narrowed his azure eyes at the intruder. I'm sorry, but with all this food set out like this, I figured. I'm not the maid. He shook some Parmesan cheese into the pot. This is all for Itachi and I. Now stop bothering me, I have a celebration dinner to finish. Well, don't rush because Itachi is helping Sasuke and I unload our trailer first. The girl smirked while watching the blonde slow as if digesting her words. You mean yep, I'm Sasuke's fiancée, Sakura. And you are, Deidara. The blonde gave her an bemused smile. Wow, I didn't know a guy could look so pretty. Sakura gawked at the blonde, earning her a sarcastic look in return. So how about I help you package things up here? What? Deidara angrily scooped noodles onto the first plate. Why, look. Sakura stepped next to the irritated blonde. If Itachi eats now, all he'd be doing is rushing through his meal because Sasuke and I need him to help us unload the U-Haul before it gets dark. All your time would have been wasted. Is that what you want? Of course not. Deidara slammed a helping onto the second plate. I have something really important to tell him. Well then, when we're done unpacking, I'll help you reheat everything. Sound good? Deidara raised a skeptical eyebrow. Sasuke says I have excellent cooking skills. Sakura flashed a smile. Okay. Deidara opened a cabinet to retrieve some plastic containers. I give. Hinata, Naruto sleepily called out. Are you awake? He cocked his head while looking at the purple hair spread messily upon his chest. We both need a break. The blonde smoothed back Hinata's hair. I'll never understand why you mated with me. He leaned in to kiss her softly on the lips. Knowing that I could never give my whole self to you. Naruto walked to the edge of the pond and splashed his face with the cool water. What's wrong with you? You have a sexy and caring mate, a wonderful family, a secluded but yet lush place to live, and yet. Naruto reached in and grabbed a piece of seaweed to cover himself. You still aren't happy. He sat in silence listening to the crickets play their evening melody. A light breeze ruffled his hair. Face it. You're never going to see Sasuke again, he uttered. Suddenly, his ears twitched at the sounds of footsteps, a sound he'd never forgotten from his only encounter with humans. He felt both terror and excitement course through his veins. People. Naruto crept farther and farther away from the safety of the grotto until he felt that pull which bonded him to his watery home. Stupid barrier. For once, let me go past here, he cursed. But the wind only blew back teasingly as if laughing at the blonde and his defiance of who he was. After many attempts to surpass the boundary, Naruto soon found himself short of breath. This isn't working. He ran his hand through his hair in a frustrated manner. But I have to keep trying. If there are people there, then maybe. Just then the sounds of a familiar scream filled his ears. Damn it! Sasuke fell on his butt and started to vigorously rub his throbbing foot. I told you my grip was slipping. Thanks a lot for not listening, Itachi. The raven spat whereas Itachi simply just casted Sasuke an aloof expression. Stupid dresser. Next time Sakura's leaving you behind. Are you guys okay? Sakura shouted while running down the dirt path alongside Deidara. We heard a yell. It was Sasuke. Itachi gestured to the invalid. Apparently my little brother is lacking in the physical department. Might want to keep that tidbit of information in the back of your mind, Sakura. He mocked, causing the girl to quirk a brow. Shut up, Itachi. Sasuke growled while attempting to stand. Be careful, Sasuke. Sakura wrapped her arms around her fiancé. Your foot might be broken. It's fine. The raven barked while shoving Sakura aside. All I need is a few minutes to recover and then I'm going to finish unpacking our stuff. He took a seat on a tree stump and then started to take some deep breaths, hoping to help minimize the pain. Hey, Deidara. Itachi reached for a green apple from one of the trees and tossed it to the blonde. Hey yourself. Deidara caught it, took a bite, and then chewed angrily. Next time tell me when people are coming so I don't waste my time making us a 6-course meal. Why so much food? Itachi walked up to the blonde. It was supposed to be a surprise, but suddenly Itachi's lips were melded to his lover's, instantly turning the blonde from rigid to putty. Hey, there's a lady present here. Sasuke piped up, and I don't think I don't mind. Sakura cut in. I'm actually a big fan of yaoi. She giggled. Don't encourage them, Sakura. The raven muttered. They could be like that for hours. Oh, a heavy blush smeared across her cheeks. Wow, Sakura's eyes widened while watching Itachi's hands rest easily on the blonde's hips followed by Deidara's hand locking behind the Uchiha's neck. Did they always kiss like that? Yeah, Sasuke rolled his eyes and then turned away from the involved couple. And I hate watching it. Well then, Sakura sat down next to the raven. How about I distract you with a sultry kiss of my own? She puckered her lips in anticipation. No, Sasuke forced himself to stand, despite the overwhelming pain. We need to finish unloading our things. In a rush, are we? Itachi pulled Awa. Why from Deidara leaving the blonde panting for air? I don't want to spend the entire night unpacking. Sasuke grit out through clenched teeth. Relax. Itachi placed a hand on his little brother's head. It'll get done. So Sakura, he glanced at the pink-haired girl. Has Sasuke ever kissed you like that? He smirked. Of course, I have. The raven was quick to answer for his future bride. Let's just finish unpacking, all right. Sasuke crumpled to the ground, the bruise on his foot much darker in color than mere moments before. Sakura, Itachi began, take Sasuke back to the house. He won't be of any help now. Deidara and I will. Ring, ring, ring. That's mine. Deidara reached into his back pocket to retrieve his cell phone. Hello, I need you to work tonight. An irritated voice shouted from the phone. But boss, I'm not supposed to start until tomorrow night. And I kinda already have plans for tonight. The blonde winced. You'll have open plans every night unless you get your ass over here in an hour. Click. What was that all about? Itachi raised a brow. It's the surprise I was talking about earlier. Deidara scratched at his dusty blonde locks while grinning. I got the job at Neptune's. I'm their new DJ. And it looks like I have to work tonight. Congratulations. Sakura smiled cheerfully. Yeah, congrats. Sasuke uttered as he was helped to his feet. Thanks. The blonde gave a curt nod. I told you you'd get the job. Itachi stated matter-of-factly while walking towards the U-Haul. Better hurry up, Deidara. He called over his shoulder. We have a lot to do in under an hour. Right, the blonde called back. Meet you two back at the house. Could that have been Sasuke? Naruto blinked twice in bewilderment. The pitch, it was deeper, but the bee, long peeked through the foliage before him. Maybe he's close by. Naruto. Hinata emerged breathlessly behind him. She was now sporting her seaweed bikini. Did you hear that? I sure did. Naruto replied excitedly, which made Hinata scowl. Knowing that humans are near our home isn't very comforting. She reached for the blonde's wrist. We'd better get back to the grotto before one of them decides to wander over here. Sasuke's part of that group. Naruto spoke seriously. What? Hinata's jaw fell open from her mate's outrageous claim. That yell we just heard, it belongs to him. I bet my heritage on it. Don't say such ridiculous things. Hinata stood in front of Naruto. Especially when you have no solid proof of which you speak. Well then, I'll just have to get some. Naruto sat, Indian style on the grass and then rubbed his chin in thought. Do you want a repeat of what happened when we were children? The girl patted her foot in annoyance. Of course not. Then why are you pursuing this? Hinata pointed at Naruto's ankles. You got those scars because of humans. She hissed. What if you get hurt again? I was careless. The blonde openly admitted. More like stupid. Hinata's fists rested on her hips. You could have been killed or worse been found out. Hinata, teach me the song. Naruto ignored her words. Teach me how to summon humans. And why would I want to do that? Hinata was flabbergasted. Even if Sasuke is here, I don't want him near us. You're my mate, Naruto. That's Sasuke. He's. Quote. I know it bothers you. Naruto spoke softly. Huh, shish. He stared down at the top of the blonde's head. My thoughts and how they're constantly drifting to Sasuke, even when I'm with you. Hinata's eyes began to tear. You said it yourself. I've become infatuated with him after the imprinting. I'm sorry, but if Sasuke is here then I need to talk to him. Won't seeing him again only make things worse? Hinata sniffled as she knelt beside her mate. I don't know what'll happen. Naruto gently caressed the girl's cheek. But I have to do this. Please help me. Are you sure you don't want me to stay here with you? Sakura asked while slipping her foot into a black high heel. I'll be fine, Sasuke flatly replied for the umpteenth time in the past 20 minutes. Go and have a good time. The raven continued to stare out the bedroom window. It won't be fun without you. People with a broken foot have no business going to a club. You're right, she sighed, but I promise not to have too much fun. She leaned over to kiss the raven playfully on the cheek. You look stunning. By the way, Sasuke glanced at his future wife. She was wearing a black cocktail dress. Her accessories included silver, hoop earrings, a sparkling necklace, a dainty bracelet and a matching silver purse. I only wish I could escort you there. He held her hand and kissed each knuckle. Me too. She ran a hand through the raven's locks. Let's go. Sakura, Deidara yelled from the front door. Coming. She kissed her fiancé goodbye and headed out. I'll miss you, HN, was all Sasuke answered. That is the funniest flute I've ever seen. Hinata laughed merrily. In her hands, she held a lopsided reed flute made from the top of a cattail. I'm glad I decided to help you, she said between giggles. Seeing your flute was so worth it. Thanks for cheering me up, Naruto. Anytime, the blonde answered sarcastically. Now, tell me again why I had to make it. Because, she tossed the flute into the blonde's lap. If you want to summon a human, you have to make the flute. It's that simple. However, it's not very often that an Aquarian willingly summons a human, so don't get too discouraged if it doesn't work. It has to. The blonde tightened his grip on the instrument. Well, now that your flute is made, you have to play a wondrous melody. A wondrous melody? Uh-huh, Hinata nodded, but inside she was smiling because there was no way Naruto's flute would produce any sort of beautiful tune. The thing was poorly made and the sound quality would be horrendous. Alright, wish me luck. Naruto took a deep breath and then blew into the flute. Ack, Hinata shouted while covering her ears. The noise sounded like nails on a chalkboard followed by a high screeching siren with a dash of a dying bird. It was downright awful. However, Naruto didn't seem to notice Hinata wincing since he was too engrossed in creating a melody. Stop, Naruto. What? The blonde paused to look at the girl. Your melody. It's, perfect for summoning Sasuke. I'm sure he'll be here soon. She wore a fake grin. I'd love to stay and enjoy your song, but I have some things to take care of back at the grotto. Ooh. Don't forget our deal, Naruto. She took one of his hands between hers. If Sasuke doesn't come tonight then. I know. Naruto heaved a sigh. I'll get you pregnant. I know it's a big step, but I want a baby. He or she will bring us loser as a couple and once it arrives you'll be so busy caring for it and me that there won't be any time left to think about Sasuke. A baby is just what we need. Don't you agree? He'll be here. The blonde confidently answered. We shall see. Hinata flipped her hair over her shoulders. Come home when you're done. You'll have a happy mate waiting for you. She disappeared into the thick foliage. I'm never going to find a topic for this stupid thesis. Sasuke let out a frustrated sigh as he laid a large marine biology textbook on a nightstand. Nothing's coming. All the subjects in here just seem too ordinary. He sat back defeated in the wicker chair. If I don't find something soon, I'm not going to get this done in time. He gazed out the window while letting the slight breeze ruffle his hair. Beep, beep, beep. It's 2 a.m. already. The raven stated while yawning. Seems like Sakura and the others are having a good time. He scratched at his ebony locks and then lifted his foot out of a bucket of hot water. My foot feels all right, so I'm going to bed. He emptied the bucket in the utility sink and then sleepily made his way to his bedroom. Once there, he took off his shirt and then headed into the bathroom to brush his teeth and wash his face. Next, he walked to the bed and flopped down on it. Ah, I forgot how comfortable this bed was. He buried his face in a blue silk pillowcase and snuggled deep in the dark blue sheet. This is heaven, and within seconds, he fell asleep. What am I doing wrong? Naruto pulled the flute away from his tired lips. I've been playing this thing for over an hour and there's still no sign of Sasuke. He moistened his lips with his tongue, hoping that would relieve the blisters that were forming. Stay positive, Naruto. I know, maybe I have to play louder. Raunchy music plays softly outside Sasuke's window. Stop, Sasuke muttered into his pillow once his ears picked up on the awful sounds filtering inside the room. It's the middle of the night. The raven grasped both sides of the pillow and pushed them against the sides of his head. Music is still heard. Gah, whoever that idiot is. He pulled the blanket over his head and flipped over for the umpteenth time in the past hour. That's it. After another 5 minutes, he glared at the clock. It flashed 3:15 a.m. His eyes were surrounded with heavy dark circles, his mouth in a snarl. And his hair was tousled every which way. I can't take this anymore. He kicked his feet around the side of his bed and slipped them into some worn gym shoes. He then put on a black tank top and a pair of cargo shorts. I'm going to find this moron and stuff that instrument down his throat. He headed towards the back door on a whim that the music was coming from somewhere behind the house. Keep playing, buddy. That only makes it that much easier for me to find you. The raven dashed outside, brushing against an assortment of bushes and flowers. After spiriting through the woods for about 15 minutes, Sasuke stumbled upon a familiar setting, the raging waves which led to a foreboding place, the clumps of shrubbery and plant life that seemed so large back then, he small pool which a certain dinosaur plush got swallowed up, his scary trip over the waterfall, the friendly and curious face of a blond boy with a dolphin tail. This place, it's the Raven's Yes, wide, and his memories came pouring back into him, memories which he believed to be locked away. No, it can't be. Father told me that all of this was my imagination. Nothing ever took place here. He shook his head as if forcing the scenes to fly out of his head. This has got to be some sort of trick my mind is playing on me. I know, it's because I've had little sleep these past few days. It's finally catching up to me. Music continues to blare in the Raven's ears. Unfortunately, that god-awful music is very much a reality. He subconsciously made his way to the pathway that his parents took to 15 years ago. Sasuke skidded to a stop at the bottom. You have to be around here somewhere, he thought to himself as he crept towards the other side of the cave. This music is making my ears bleed. Sasuke covered his ears. Suddenly, he came across a grotto, the same grotto he often saw in his dreams. This can't be. He looked all around, shocked that everything looked the same as it did the last time he was here. Sasuke slowly lowered his hands and made his way over to where 2 rocks protruded from the ground. Once there, he bent down and slowly slid his fingers across the slick rock. What am I doing? Why did I come to this spot? What is it I'm expecting to find? Sasuke slapped his face with both hands to wake him up. However, the instant he did that, the music returned full-blown to his delicate ears. This music has got to stop now. He yelled into the night, which oddly enough, it worked. Sasuke double blinked and then slowly took his hands away from his ringing ears. It stopped. Sasuke stepped outside the cave and hopped down the rocks to the ground level of the grotto. I was beginning to think that you wouldn't come. A male's voice danced on the night air, instantly putting Sasuke on high alert. Charcoal eyes darted left and right. But I wanted to see you. Why me? Sasuke continued to scan his surroundings. Who are you and what do you want? Nothing. Choosing to remain silent. The raven huffed in an irritated manner. Well then, I'm going to assume it was you who was making that awful noise. It was. Naruto moved cautiously through the bushes, not wanting to reveal himself just yet. My song worked just as it should. You call that irritating noise a song? Sasuke chortled. Okay, fine, I admit it. The song wasn't exactly soothing. But it brought you here, didn't it? What do you expect for a first attempt? Perfection, Sasuke answered spitefully. At least in my family, but that's beside the point. I came here because your music was driving me nuts. And if there were other people around, they'd be here too. You're the only one who could hear it. Naruto came across a soft patch of dirt and sat on his haunches. If you tried to convince others, you'd only look like a fool. I've already been there, Sasuke muttered. I'm sorry. Naruto swallowed a breath of guilt. So what kind of idiot plays an annoying song in the middle of the night? The raven quickly changed the subject. I'm not an idiot. The blonde balled his fists, nicking the leaves around him. That song was played with a purpose, to summon you. I'm not some type of deity. The raven smiled as he saw the small movement of the shrubbery. So that's where you're hiding. However, he pushed aside the bushes, revealing a startled blonde. I prefer to see who I'm talking to, no matter how strange they look. Before the raven, was a nearly naked male with various light and dark blue markings on his face and left shoulder. GLE fins shot out from the blonde's sunny locks and those sparkling cerulean eyes. Wow, they were familiar. Naruto struggled to find the right words, but the raven had a different idea. Where is it? Where is what? Naruto furrowed his brows. That thing you were playing. Sasuke growled. Oh, you mean my flute. The blonde held it out excitedly for the raven to see. Do you want to play it? No. Sasuke swiped the instrument away from Naruto. I want to break it. He snapped the flute directly in half. What the? Do you have any idea how long it took me to make that? Don't care. Sasuke tossed the flute on the ground and stepped on it, crushing it further. Crack. Now this is a sound I like. Stop that. Suddenly the raven's cheek met with Naruto's fist, causing the raven to stumble back a few steps. You punch me. Sasuke was more surprised than angry at the moment. You punch me over a piece of junk. You shouldn't have broken it. Naruto bent down to examine what was left of his flute. I did my ears a favor. Sasuke shook off the punch and regained his poise. Who are you anyways? Your friend. Naruto gave the raven a bright smile. I'm so excited to see you Agai. And especially after the imprinting that took place. I mean it's affected me so much I thought. I don't have a clue what you're talking about. Just tell me why you summoned me so I could go back to sleep and forget this meeting ever happened. How can you say that, Sasuke? The raven's eyes grew large as his name left the blonde's supple lips. We've never met. Who told you my name? You did. Naruto tapped the raven's nose. Now come with me. I want to show you something. Naruto was about to grab Sasuke's hand when suddenly he found himself laying on his back, the wind knocked out of him. I don't let punches go unreturned, Sasuke said with a smug expression while wiping his hands. I think I figured out who you are. You did. Naruto's eyes lit up. You're one of those entertainers Itachi hires, right? The raven stepped on the blonde's chest and peered down. Nice fins by the way. He flicked one of the blonde's ears. I don't know Itachi. The blonde wrapped his hands around the raven's ankles and twisted, causing Sasuke to fall beside him. And stop acting like my appearance is so strange to you. I've already explained it. Naruto hoisted himself on his elbows. You understood then. Why is it so hard for you to understand now? You don't make any sense. Sasuke took a deep breath and sat up. Do you remember that day, Sasuke? Naruto softly spoke while placing a webbed hand on the raven's thigh. Do you remember the day you fell over the waterfall and met a blonde dolphin? How do you know about that? Sasuke was caught off guard by the blonde's words. It doesn't matter. The raven was about to stand, but was forced to stay put as Naruto laid both hands on the raven's shoulders. This isn't going to end so abruptly like it did before. Naruto locked gazes with Sasuke. What happened to you? You were so curious before. Let me up, Sasuke sneered, and stop pretending like you know me. But I do. Well, sort of. Naruto averted his eyes. But I know that after a while, you and I could be great friends and maybe even more. You really are crazy. The raven shrugged off the blonde's hands and stood up. Look, first off, I like girls and secondly, I'm marrying one and her name is Sakura. What? The blonde shot up. You heard me. And lastly, I don't want any communication with you ever again. You can't mean that. We're meant for each other. No, Naruto, we're not. Sasuke answered icily before walking away from the rejected blonde. I need a shower. Sasuke slammed open the back door of the Uchiha home and then tromped into the bathroom. Naruto, he muttered while undressing. I thought that chapter of my life was closed. The raven stepped into the shower and tugged the nylon curtain back across the length of the bath. This whole ordeal is nothing but a big headache. He pulled the shower knob and stood facing the gushing stream. No one's going to know what happened tonight, Sasuke told himself as the water cascaded down his ivory skin. But still, there's no way I punched a ghost tonight. Well, he gave a little smirk. After what I said to him, Naruto would be completely stupid if he tries to summon me again. Sasuke raised his face into the oncoming water. This is just what I needed, a simple way to erase the evening's events. After a few moments, he cracked open an eye. Just great. He gave a sarcastic sigh. Freesia shampoo, cucumber conditioner, and a loofah. He picked up the small sponge and squirted the sweet-smelling soap onto it and began to wash. After a few minutes the water turned bitter cold. Yikes! The raven jumped as far from the stream as possible. Why'd the water suddenly get so cold? He reluctantly stuck his hand through the freezing stream to adjust the knob. That's more like it. The raven breathed out a sigh of relief and then stared dumbfoundedly at the shower as if expecting it to provide a reason for what just happened. There must be something wrong with the plumbing. He grabbed the conditioner and plopped some onto his head. I'll tell Itachi to take a look at it tomorrow. Sasuke casually massaged the girly, scented liquids into his hair, then suddenly the water became extremely hot. Ah! The raven yelled while jumping away from the scalding water. Hot, hot, hot. He curled his body as tight as he could while pushing the suds away from his eyes. This shower has some serious issues. Once again, his hand snaked through the water. Ow! Sasuke instantly withdrew his hand. I'm getting out of here. I've had it with this shower. He went to pull the curtain back, but found it stuck. Sasuke tugged harder on the curtain, but it wouldn't budge. This is ridiculous. There's no way I'm going to be held prisoner in a shower. Sasuke zed around the bathing area until an idea struck. I know, I'll try the other side. The raven took a deep breath and then a big step across the length of the tub. Think of cool things, think of cool things. He repeated to himself while being pelted by the scalding hand finally grasped the edge. Damn, it's stuck too. What the hell is going on here? He jumped back to the opposite side. I know, I'll just push on the middle of the curtain and get out that way. Sasuke was just about to do that when the shower head moved to spray the raven directly in the face. Hey, he spittled while waving his hands frantically. Arg, he blindly reached out, hoping to push the knob that'll switch from shower mode to bath mode. You're not going to beat me. He stretched his fingers until he felt his feet slip out from underneath him. Sasuke fell belly first onto the hard porcelain tub. That's it. He pushed himself up to his knees and swiftly kicked at the knob, finally shutting off the water, or so he thought. The raven stared as he watched the knob fall from its spot on the wall. You can't be serious. Sasuke was being forced backwards by a stream of frigid water. Now, it's personal. I don't care if I have to pay for the damages. This shower has just lost the game. He quickly spun onto his stomach and pulled on the curtain with everything he had, hoping to rip it from the horizontal bar it was attached to, and it worked. Sasuke immediately jumped out and ran out of the bathroom, right into Itachi. Get out of my way. Sasuke barked out. And fix that shower. It's possessed. He continued down the hall, forgetting that he was competently butt naked. Well, Itachi straightened his composure. That was more than I cared to see of my little brother. Nice butt on Sasuke. Deidara laughed. It's not bad, Itachi added with a chuckle. But putting that aside, Sasuke said there's something wrong with the shower. So, I'm going to check it out. The older Uchiha peeked his head in the doorway. What are we looking for? Deidara placed his hands on Itachi's shoulders and looked into the bathroom too. I am not sure. Itachi furrowed his brows in confusion. Well, I'm going to bed. The blonde gave a big yawn. You coming? In a minute. Itachi flipped the light on and went over to the shower. Everything seemed to be in order. The blue and red towels still hung off the towel rods. The see-through curtain, with the large Uchiha fan in the center, hung normally. The small, round clock on the wall continued to tick, the time now a little past 4:15 a.m. The dark blue e-rug tickled his bare feet as he stood before the shower. All right. Deidara pulled out his hair tie and shook out his hair. Night. He dragged his feet to the stairs that would lead to both his and Itachi's bedroom. There's nothing here. Sasuke must be overtired. Just out of curiosity, Itachi pulled back the shower curtain. It looks normal to me. He glanced all around, but once his eyes fell downward, he caught the last glimpses of a familiar design. Sasuke. Sakura's eyes grew large as they drifted excitedly over Sasuke's nude body. Do you want to? She raced up to the raven. Are you okay? Her tone quickly changed to one of great concern. Your skin, it's beet red. What happened? I don't want to talk about it. The raven growled. Just go to bed. Good morning, everyone. Sakura smiled cheerfully, whereas everyone else emitted loud groans. She was wearing a red tank top and light blue jeans. Brown cowboy boots adored her feet and a small gray backpack added flair to her back. How can you be so peppy? Deidara spoke aloud what the two Uchihas were thinking. It's 8 a.m. Simple. Sakura poured herself a cup of orange juice. I'm a morning person. She downed the OJ, gave a satisfied sign, and then gazed at the breakfast nook before her. The space was brightly lit due to a multitude of windows. A tan, wooden bench rested alongside a white wall and there were 2 chairs on the opposite side of the table. Altogether the table could accommodate 4 people comfortably. No tablecloth covered it. Instead there were numerous delicious breakfast-type foods such as toast, sausage, bacon, omelets, yogurt, milk, coffee, orange juice, pancakes, and waffles. The chairs were occupied by the siblings and the bench was taken by an outstretched Deidara. Sakura shrugged her shoulders, not really caring that there wasn't a place for her at the table. Ooh, yogurt. She reached for her favorite flavor, blueberry. Ready to go, Sasuke. She eyed the raven, pleasantly surprised that at least he was wearing a black t-shirt and jeans unlike his brother, for Itachi and Deidara were still in their pajamas. Meet you by the stables. She strode out the back door with a skip in her step. The stables. Sasuke choked on his pancakes. He pounded his chest and chugged some juice. I don't have time for that. Why not? Itachi drawled while sipping his coffee. You have somewhere else to go. Quote, maybe I do. The raven pushed himself from the table and stood up. Now if you'll excuse me, He turned to leave but was stopped as a hand grasped onto his wrist. Obviously you don't plan on bringing up last night's spectacle, so I will. Itachi began. What exactly happened last night? I checked the shower and there was nothing wrong with it. Sasuke looked away from his brother. I did see something though. There was a design on the bottom of the tub. It was faint, but the pattern resembled the one on your hand. It had to have been him. Sass. Uke grumbled while flexing his tattooed hand. Him. Itachi and Deidara asked in unison. I'll be back later. He ripped his hand away from Itachi's. When Sakura comes back, keep her here. Sasuke headed outside. Well, that was weird. Deidara munched on a sausage link. What do you think's going on with him? I have no idea, but I think the answer will present itself sooner than later. Itachi swallowed the rest of his coffee. There you are, Sakura said while pulling 2 beautiful horses out from the stable. One was a black stallion named Razor and the other was a brown and white pinto named Cinnamon. Both sported bridles and saddles. I was hoping to leave before 8:30. Could we do this some other time? Sasuke said solemnly. No. Sakura handed the raven the reins to his horse. I spent the entire evening last night without you and another few hours won't kill you. The raven injected, quite rudely. I'll pretend I didn't hear that. She jumped onto Cinnamon. Anyways, your foot seems to have healed so you have no reason not to join me. So get on your horse. Her attitude instantly changed from one of charm to one of intimidation. Fine. He gave a reluctant sigh, deciding it was better to go along with Sakura's plans than make her angry. What's on your agenda today? Deidara asked while washing the dishes. I've got some errands to run. Itachi put the last of the dishes in the sink. Come with me. I'll need your help. Okay. The blonde dried off his hands and then ran upstairs to change. Isn't this wonderful? Sakura kicked her horse to a trot. Just you, me, and all this beautiful scenery. I think we should get married out here. What do you think? She glanced over her shoulder only to find the raven with his head down, deep in thought. Sasuke. Huh, what? Sasuke looked up. Are you even listening to me? Sakura backed her horse up until she was next to Sasuke. Sure. Roast beef sounds great for lunch. The raven rattled off. I wasn't talking about that. Sorry. Sasuke ran a hand through his silky locks. There's something on my mind at the moment. Wanna talk about it? Sakura asked. Not really. Come on. What's wrong? You too. The raven spat. You're just like my brother. He flicked the reins on Razor and gave the animal a swift kick in the belly. Why can't everyone just leave me alone? He raced ahead. Sasuke. Sakura mimicked the raven's actions. Wait up. Sorry Sakura, but I have to confront Naruto. Sasuke thought to himself. That stupid blonde. This is all his fault. He drove his horse faster and harder. I hate to do this, but I have to ditch her. Sasuke, stop. Sakura's voice called out, "You're going too fast. I'm losing you. Please stop." She skillfully maneuvered Cinnamon through the thick foliage. "Come on, girl. Stay with him." Sakura urged her horse, but unfortunately, a stallion is much faster than a pinto. After another grueling 20 minutes, Sakura pulled back on her reins. "Whoa, girl." She steadied the exhausted animal. "Looks like we lost them. Oh well, we tried our best." Sakura petted Cinnamon's muscular neck. "I better take a look around." She jumped down. Every direction she turned, there were trees. Trees, and more trees. In other words, everything looked the same. Below her feet were small dirt trails which led every which way. "I think I'm lost," she sighed. "She's gone." Sasuke sighed as he sensed the girl's presence no longer. "She'll be all right though. All Sakura has to do is retrace her steps and she'll be back at the house in no time." Now to find that grotto. What is this place? Sakura stumbled across a hidden paradise. Palm trees surrounded two sparkling pools, one of which was above a waterfall, the other below it. The waterfall wasn't very high, but the water flowing over it was the bluest she'd ever seen. Flora and fauna in all shapes and sizes decorated the landscape while tropical birds cawed from their nesting places amongst the trees. A path made from stones connected the two levels and a small cave was seen behind the waterfall. The place looked very inviting and refreshing, especially after wandering aimlessly all morning. The water wasn't very deep, but it looked like a nice escape from the summer heat. "Stay here, Cinnamon." She tied her horse to a nearby tree, which still allowed the animal to drink from the spring. "I'm going to quench my thirst too." Sakura licked her dry lips before slipping off her boots and rolling up her jeans. Next, she walked knee-deep into the pool. Ah, if heaven had a look, this would definitely be it. She gave a happy sigh as the cool waters lapped against her leg. "I bet this water tastes even better than it looks." Sakura cupped her hands, dipped them in the clear liquid and then indulged herself. "Where are you, Naruto?" Sasuke jumped off Razor and strode up to the glistening pool. "You fucked with my shower, didn't you? You made me look like an idiot," he called out. "Serves you right." Naruto appeared at the edge of the pool, his lower body still immersed in the crystal water. "You were a complete ass last night." "I did nothing wrong." Sasuke briskly walked up to the blonde. "Why don't you go and bother someone else?" "I told you before, it's because of the imprinting. Why won't you give us a try?" "Because I want nothing to do with you." The raven spat. "I'm perfectly happy with my life the way it is now." "Then what are you doing here?" Naruto smiled victoriously. "I'm here because I don't let people get away with stunts like that." "I'm no pushover." "Good." Naruto raised himself out of the water. "I'm not a pushover either." "That's great," Sasuke answered sarcastically before heading back to his horse. "So now that we've talked, let's both get on with our lives, without each other." "You couldn't resist the pull, could you?" Naruto studied the raven's movements. "It's what brought you here, you know." "I brought myself here." The raven clipped. "Oh really?" Naruto crossed his arms while casually strolling next to Sasuke. "That's pretty impressive then," he mocked, knowing exactly how to get here from deep within another section of the forest, but the best part is, you haven't even been here in the past 15 years. Naruto slapped the animals behind, causing Razor to run off. "What the hell? That was my ride back to normality." That animal will only get injured if it says here." Sasuke furrowed his brow at the blonde's odd choice in words. "Fine then, I'll just walk back. There's still plenty of daylight." He took 2 steps, but soon found himself stuck in a mud pit. "Hey, like my little ability." Naruto smirked. "It's mud, things tend to get stuck in it." Sasuke drawled with a mocking tone before starting to pull on his legs. "You're so close-minded." The blonde sulked. "I'm doing all of this." "Sure you are. Now be quiet, so I could focus my efforts on getting myself out of here instead of blocking out your annoying voice." Sasuke continued the task at hand. "We're connected, Sasuke, and I'll do whatever it takes to prove it to you." The blonde strode over to the water. "Here's how things are going to work. If you I'll escape before the water goes above your head, then I'll disappear from your life. But if you need my help, then you have to promise to give us a try." "What if I don't want to play your stupid game?" Sasuke grew frustrated as his energy was quickly depleting. You don't have a choice. Naruto placed his hands in the water and started to move them in a circular motion. Water of my grotto, bend to my will. Flow around that human until he makes the right choice. Suddenly a portion of the blue pool transformed into a slick, slender water snake. What is that? Sasuke's eyes widened. A form that helps get the water from point A, which is here in my grotto, to point B, which is where you are. Naruto ran his hand along the top of the water snake. It's very beneficial. Sasuke eyed the snake warily, putting even more zest into his escape. Go, water snake. The creature glided towards the raven and began to quickly encase Sasuke within a watery spiral. You only have about 3 minutes before running out of air. Water snakes work quickly. I can do this. Sasuke tried to calm himself as the cold waters traveled farther and farther up his body. No, I can't. His whole persona instantly changed. That raven's arms wrapped around his upper body, making it look as if Sasuke was truly afraid of the water. It's only water. I'm stronger than it, he mumbled while squeezing his eyes. Sasuke. Naruto leaned though the water snake and was surprised to see the raven huddled like a small child. Are you okay? It's not going to defeat me. The raven continued to mutter rapidly. He's scared of water. Naruto was shocked. Naruto. Sasuke reluctantly spoke. I'll do whatever you want. Just make the water stop. Taken aback by the raven's pleas, the water crashed down on and sank into the ground. Sasuke, never do that again. Sasuke yelled between deep breaths. You have no idea how long it took to get over my fear of water, and now, thanks to your little stunt, I'll continue to be haunted by it. You're afraid of water. Naruto raised a brow. How can that be? I almost died because of it, remember? The raven finally pulled his legs free. Water isn't your enemy. It's not my friend either. At least let me help you. The blonde stood in front of the raven, his back facing Sasuke. I'll give you a piggyback ride to your house, or at least I'll take you as far as I could. The raven wobbled while standing on the soggy ground. Definitely not. Why not? It's pretty obvious that the encounter with my water snake took a lot out of you. Fine. Sasuke caved in. Let's just get this embarrassment over with. He reached for the blonde's shoulders, but once his tattooed hand touched Naruto's decorated left shoulder, a blinding blue light shot out and engulfed the two boys. This is some damn good purified water, Sakura stated after taking her last gulp of the sparkling water. Well, now that I'm all sated, time to get back to the house. She trudged through the pool. You're not done already, are you? An unknown voice spoke, startling Sakura. Who's there? She squinted her eyes and saw the outline of a male who was sitting outside the cave. My name is Sai and this is my home. You live here, in a grotto. Yes. Sai slipped into the water. That's where all Aquarions live. Aquarions? Sakura furrowed her brow. I've never heard of those before. Of course you haven't heard of us. Sai swam around the girl like a shark encircling its prey. Humans can't speak of what they don't know of, right? I guess not. Sakura-n's word as her eyes roamed the mysterious creature circling her. Sai's face and upper body, including both shoulders, were decorated with silver, white, gray, and black paint. He was mostly nude except for the small cloth that covered his manhood. Black hair and eyes contrasted with his porcelain skin, and there was a large, black fin which protruded from his mid-back. In addition, Sai had small fins on his elbows and ankles as well. His overall expression appeared friendly. However, Sakura suspected this character was nothing like that. In fact, she wanted to get as far away from Sai as possible. I really need to get going. Sakura lamely replied. My fiancé is probably worried sick by now. Your fiancé doesn't know you're here. Well, he knows roughly where I am, and if you try anything, you'll be sorry. The girl looked at Sai warily. Sasuke never loses a fight. I see. Good. She spun and quickly headed back towards Cinnamon. Now go back to wherever you came from and leave me alone. She shouted over her shoulder. I can't do that. Sai put his hands in the water and then raised them back up, along with another pair of large, watery hands. You see, one of my own has, temporarily, left his place. So another must take his place. With those words, the watery hands grabbed onto Sakura. You'll do nicely. Sakura screamed, "Sasuke, stay away. Don't come any closer." Sasuke muttered into the silk sheets upon his bed. I'm not afraid of you." He tossed and turned under his navy comforter. You, thump. The raven's body landed hard on the wooden floor. "Are you okay?" Naruto leaned over the edge of the bed. "Ah." Sasuke scrambled back up against the wall. "What are you doing here?" "I'm guessing this happened when your mark touched mine." The blonde pointed to his back. "Who knew? Huh." He jumped off the bed and began to wander about the bedroom. "This is all your fault." The raven patted himself down, thankful that he was still dressed as when he left this morning. "Don't go blaming me for what happened." Naruto opened the window and drew a deep breath. "But since it did, let's make the most of it. How could you be so calm about this?" Sasuke glared at the blonde as he stood to his full height. "You've left your home. That doesn't bother you." "Not really." Naruto spoke more towards the outside than to Sasuke. "I've always dreamed of spending time with you and now I finally get the chance." He flashed a grin over his shoulder. "Naruto, you can't just invade my life like this." Sasuke tossed the crumpled blankets back onto the bed. "There are things going on right now that I don't need any distractions from. The reality of things is that you're going back to your grotto right now." "What's the rush?" Naruto continued to gaze outside. "It's only midday and there's still so much we have to learn about each other." "Sorry, but that's not happening." Sasuke grabbed a brush off his nightstand and ran it through his ebony locks. "We need to spend time getting you back where you belong, not bonding." His voice trailed off as he found himself staring a little too long at the Aquarion's tanned and sculptured body. The oceanic paints which spread across the blonde's back held Sasuke's interest the most. In fact, its alluring presence seemed to speak out to him, telling the raven that it wanted tea. Obi touched and caressed in a way that only Sasuke could do. I wonder." Out of the corner of his eye, Naruto could see the look on Sasuke's face and he considered it to be very encouraging. "How about you show me around the house?" Quote, "I'm not a tour guide." Sasuke snipped. "Fine then, I'll just show myself around." "Wait a minute." Sasuke threw a pillow at the blonde. "You're not going anywhere dressed like that." "Why not?" Naruto looked down at the wrap that hung about his hips. "I'm comfortable like this. Just stay there and don't touch anything." Sasuke stepped into a walk-in closet. Naruto nodded, but as soon as Sasuke was out of sight, he dashed over to look at some framed photos that were sitting on a shelf above the bed. "So, she's my competition." He carefully studied the pink-haired girl sitting on a picnic blanket next to Sasuke. "She may be pretty, but..." After a few minutes of staring at the happy couple, Naruto's vision stared to focus more on his own reflection. "My face." He brought a hand up to his cheek and rubbed it. "It's naked. I don't understand. The paint, it only comes off with aquatic mint, but I haven't been anywhere near it since I recently met up with Sasuke." He returned the photo back to its correct place, this time noticing his left arm. "My fins. They aren't here either." He checked his other elbow and his legs. "They're gone. They're all gone." He panicked. "What are you getting all hyped up about?" Sasuke drawled as he returned with a stack of clothes. "Why didn't you say something?" Naruto's voice sounded upset. "I don't see what the big deal is." The raven pushed the pile into the blonde's hands. "You look more like a human now, which certainly makes things easier for me." "I'm glad someone's happy about this." Naruto uttered. "I wanted to spend time with a human, not become one." His voice turned sad. "Now everything that marks me as an Aquarion has disappeared. If only I was that lucky." Sasuke leaned in Danguro, sly close and blew across the blonde's sensitive finned ears. "You still have these, which poses a major problem." He backed away and then moved to open another drawer. "Add this to your pile." The Rav-en tossed a blue fisherman's hat at Naruto. "Go into the closet and get dressed." "Gee, don't sound too sympathetic or anything." The blonde muttered as he did what was asked. "I'm not that kind of person." Sasuke leaned against one of the bedposts to wait for the Aquarion. "Could you at least tell me if the design is still on my back?" Naruto shouted while pulling an orange shirt on. "It's there," Sasuke answered, his cheeks reddening. I wonder why some things disappeared and others didn't." The blonde furrowed his brows in thought as he stuffed his legs into a pair of Bermuda shorts. "Hey Sasuke, now what?" Sasuke raised a brow. These clothes are actually quite comfy. Naruto stepped out of the closet. Yeah, well, I'm just glad they fit you. Sasuke placed two gym shoes in front of Naruto. These go on your feet. I know that. The blonde put them on. Well, here's something that I'm sure you don't know. Sasuke began. You're to wear a hat at all times. Got it. All right. Naruto sulked. But I don't like covering my ears like this. You'll get used to it. Sasuke's eyes traveled up and down the blonde's now covered body. That's a good look for you. He nodded in approval. You really think so? Naruto wrapped his arms around Sasuke in a hug of gratitude. I've always heard that humans are selfish, but you're not. You've given me such wonderful clothes and all I could give you is this. Naruto's lips suddenly latched onto Sasuke's. The contact was soft and warm, giving the startled Raven a chance to ease out of his immediate response of shock. Next, the blonde used his tongue to coax the Raven to open his mouth a little wider, which surprisingly happened without much of a struggle. Naruto then ran his tongue along all parts of Sasuke's moist cavern. Happy to discover that this caused Sasuke to emit a small moan. I like the way you taste, Naruto murmured against Sasuke's mouth. It reminds me of the outdoors. He pulled back and placed his forehead to Sasuke's. A place I like very much. And that's exactly where you're going back to. Sasuke panted out. Not this again. Naruto plopped on the bed. I thought that would have changed your mind about me having to leave. He sulked. You seem to like it. That's impossible. Sasuke turned away from the blonde. I'm engaged. The only one I should be kissing is Sakura. How could you still keep telling yourself that? Naruto placed his hands behind his head and laid back on the bed. Oh well, he sighed. I'll just have to keep waiting until you wake up. Hold on a second. You expect one kiss could change things? Sasuke raised a skeptical brow. Why not? Our first time meeting each other changed everything. Why should this be any different? Because. The Raven rubbed at his temples in frustration. Let's go downstairs. He marched out of the room. Hey, you didn't answer the question. Naruto chased after Sasuke. We found lots of great stuff today. Deidara got out of the Hummer with lots of plastic bags in his hands. I can't wait to set this stuff up tonight. I'm sure your boss will love the decor, especially the singing fish and the plastic starfish lights. Itachi stated sarcastically after kicking the door closed with his foot since both arms carried two large paper bags. Those were great deals, but if Hidan doesn't want to use them, could I keep them here? No way. Itachi flat-lined, causing the dusty blonde to frown. Let's get to the house. Are you finished yet? Sasuke stated in an annoyed manner. What's the rush? Naruto glanced up, his cheeks full of little Debbie cupcakes. I thought people always ate after getting up. The blonde was currently seated at the table in the breakfast nook whereas the Raven chose to remain standing. Isn't it obvious? The Raven grabbed the box of treats and put them back into the refrigerator. I don't want you here when my brother comes home. Sasuke, Itachi's voice rang out. Open the back door. Our hands are full. Deidara chimed in. So much for plan A. Sasuke sighed in defeat. All right, plan B. If they ask you any questions, let me answer for you. But Sasuke, Naruto piped up. However, he was ignored as the Raven hastily obliged his brother's request. What is all of that? Sasuke eyed the bags with a twinge of curiosity. Adornments for the club. The dusty blonde placed his bags on the table, blocking Naruto from view. Neptune's going to be the best-looking underwater club for miles. You work for Neptune. Naruto excitedly jolted out of his chair and then firmly grasped Deidara's shoulders. How do you manage that? I applied. Deidara answered with a wary grin. Naruto. Sasuke pulled the blonde backwards. What? Naruto looked from Deidara to Sasuke and then to Deidara again. He knows Neptune. New friend. Sasuke. Itachi stood beside his brother. Perhaps you should introduce us. Naruto. This is my older brother, Itachi, and this is his boyfriend, Deidara. Everyone exchanged hands. He's a classmate from school. The Raven smoothly lied. He's also my partner for my thesis paper. I wasn't aware that I'd have another guest here over the summer. Itachi looked over the new blonde. He's not staying. Sasuke reached for Naruto's hand. Where is he staying then? Deidara blocked Sasuke's path. But out Deidara, I don't have to tell you anything. The raven shoved past the dusty blonde. I don't want to leave. Naruto fought back. It's so damp back home. Damp? Itachi raised a perfectly formed eyebrow. Where exactly do you live, Naruto? The blonde bit down on his lower lip and looked at Sasuke, unsure of how to answer the question. Fine, he'll stay here. Sasuke reluctantly came to the blonde's rescue. I suppose. Say it wouldn't feel right to make Naruto walk back home in the dark. Hooray! Naruto embraced the raven in a tight hug. He could stay in the den. Itachi headed that way. It needs to be cleaned up. So I'll tackle that for a bit until we leave. Did you tell Sakura that Naruto was coming? Deidara started to unpack and organize his newly bought items. It was kind of a last-minute thing, so not yet. Sasuke wiggled free of the blonde's over-enthusiastic hold. Speaking of my fiancé, I wonder where she is. The raven opened the back door and pushed on the screen door. He only caught sight of Razor, his stallion from before, grazing on some grass near the stable. She must have decided to extend her horseback riding excursion this morning and make a day out of it. Good thing too, because with all the fresh air, she's bound to be too exhausted to discuss what happened earlier. He added under his breath, Are you guys coming tonight? Deidara popped open a can of Pepsi. Come where? Sasuke shook his thoughts of Sakura and turned to face the dusty blonde. Neptune's. The now empty can hit the rim of the recycling bin and dropped in. I'm the DJ there, remember? My boss told me that after doing such a great job last night that I could get my friends in for free tonight. We have to go, Sasuke. Naruto replied cheekily. It's rumored that Neptune's hidden grotto is the most wondrous thing anyone could set their sights on. Wow. Deidara's eyes sparkled as he intertwined his fingers with Naruto's. Neptune's is that famous? Yep. Naruto's eyes reflected Deidara's. Quote, rumor also says that Neptune's servants are the best of the best. Oh please, Sasuke, could we go with him? Both blondes turned to face the scowled-faced raven, their eyes large and round, their lips quivering, giving off an overall effect that was between pitiful and pleading. What time are we leaving? Sasuke heaved a heavy sigh. 8 o'clock, Deidara answered as he and Naruto bounded about like two little kids. If Sakura's not back by then, I'll just leave her a note. Sasuke reached for a pen and paper. Sure. The dusty blonde responded indifferently while pulling Naruto up to his table of trinkets. So Naruto, which decorations do you like the best? I can't believe I'm going along with this. Sasuke trudged back upstairs to change. You can't keep me here. Sakura angrily bellowed out while gripping the bars before her. Temper. Sai teased as he idly played with a small, glossy black stone which hung from his neck. That's no way for a damsel in distress to be acting. He lectured while standing in front of her. Don't think I'm helpless just because I'm stuck in some medieval cage. Sakura's emerald eyes narrowed as they took in the small size of her iron prison. Luckily it allowed her to stand, but as far as the width goes, she could only take about 5 steps back and forth. The cage was butted up against the inside of the cavern Sakura was so curious about earlier. She knew this because she could see the beautiful tropical paradise just a few feet beyond the mouth of the cavern. What do you want with me? Nothing at the moment. Sai strode past he girl until his feet were submerged in the water which bled into his cavern. I just need to hold you here until I find someone. What does this someone have to do with me? Sakura watched the strange male carefully. Let's just say it's my job to keep the numbers. He picked up a small paintbrush that was sitting on a small rock. Sakura's face was etched with confusion. Azario, I summon thee. Sai bent down and drew a variety of symbols on the water's edge. What are you doing? Sakura peered through her bars, hoping to get a better view of what was happening. Why spoil the surprise? Sai took a few steps back. Just enjoy the show. The glistening water slowly started to rise and then morphed itself into a magnificent 12-foot beast with the front end of a horse and the back half of a barracuda. Azario's hooves thundered upon the jagged rocks on the cave's floor as its slender, powerful tail splashed viciously in the water. Calm down, Azario, he sternly addressed the creature. You are to keep an eye on this human. He gestured to the frightened girl. No one is to enter or leave my cavern. If that happens, you know what to do. The creature nodded its what? Ori head as Sai dove into the water and disappeared, leaving the beast and Sakura alone. Here we are. Deidara gestured proudly to a 3-story brick building coming into view. The 4-man group ECIDED to pile in Sasuke's black pickup due to the lack of large, or any, parking spaces for that matter around the club. People were everywhere, making Itachi extremely bitter as the traffic was stop and go for the next few blocks. The eldest Uchiha, who was dressed in a mahogany shirt and black pants, was at the wheel, while Deidara, who sported a backwards baseball cap, a blue belly top, with a long-sleeve mesh shirt underneath, denim jeans, and gym shoes, was sitting shotgun, leaving Naruto and Sasuke crammed behind them, their styles hidden in the dark. The newly bought decorations were crammed, yet neatly stacked and secured in the bed of the truck. I wanna see. Naruto rolled down the small, side window and gaped at the scene before him. Crowds upon crowds of people made their way to the entrance of the club, which was offset to the left by a large, man-made waterfall that fell from the top of the building onto a large, sea rock below that was roughly 8 feet tall. In bright, neon green lights was the word, Neptunes, that glowed brightly from its spot, right in the middle of the rock. 2 busty mermaids, one a blonde with a cerulean seashell bra, the other a brunette with a green seashell bra, sat atop the sign, their mannequin forms posed in sexy positions to match their equally sultry face expressions. That's weird. Naruto furrowed his brows. What is? Deidara spun around in his seat to look at Naruto. Those mermaids. The blonde sat back in his seat. I always thought they were private creatures, preferring a life of solitude among their own kind. They're fake, Naruto, Sasuke said flatly. Oh, the blonde felt a little foolish. Hidan's really into theming, though sometimes it's a little tacky. Just wait until you see it. You'll think you're really under the sea, said Deidara. Wow, Naruto's eyes grew large. Deidara, Itachi gruffed out. Turn around and keep your eyes peeled for a parking space. It's much more crowded than last night. Hey, Deidara did a 180 and raised his hand above his brow. It must be my awesome music that's bringing people here. Oh, there's a spot. He quickly jumped out and stood in an empty spot next to a small tree, holding it until Itachi maneuvered the truck there. All right. Deidara waited for everyone to unload from the vehicle. Itachi and I are going in the employee entrance due to all these decorations, which means. And just how are we supposed to get in? Sasuke interjected while crossing his arms over his chest. I'm not waiting in that obnoxious line. I was getting to that part. Deidara huffed. Anyways, you two are to go straight to the front and seek out Sasori. Who's that? Naruto's gaze drifted towards the hustle and bustle. He's the bouncer tonight, the dusty blonde replied. Just tell him that you know me and he'll let you in no problem. He's a cool guy like that. Oh really? Itachi cocked a brow. He's nothing to be jealous of, Itachi. Deidara looped his arm through his boyfriend's. We just met yesterday and hit it off pretty good as friends. Come on, Sasuke. Naruto raced towards Neptune's. I can't wait another minute. Naruto. Sasuke puffed out while jogging, just to keep up with the excitable blonde. Will you slow up? He placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder as he caught his breath. The club's not going to close for another 6 hours. I know that. It's just that I'm so stoked to see this place. Well, I'm not, Sasuke grumbled. Why not? Naruto scrunched his brows. Gee, where to begin? The Raven looked down. Oh I know, he stated grimly. My clothes. What's wrong with them? The blonde studied Sasuke from head to foot. The Uchiha was wearing a black vest, with no shirt underneath, black cargos, with a few chains here and there, and a pair of black combat boots. A thick, leather-spiked collar adorned his neck while bracelets, complete with silver studs, decorated his wrists. A dark gray bandana covered his head, but still load his fluffy ebony bangs free movement. I don't ever dress like this. Sasuke frowned deeply. Really? Naruto was shocked. But you have such a nice body. So I've been told. Sasuke bent down to retie his boot. But on the way down, he couldn't help but take a quick glance at the blonde. Naruto was wearing a black ski cap, a black t-shirt, loose-fitting jeans and dark brown hiking boots. What do you think? Suddenly Naruto's face was right in front of Sasuke's. Deidara told me to wear these. They're a lot different from the ones you gave me, but I like them too. You like everything, don't you? Sasuke's face held an unreadable expression. Would you rather I be moody like you? Naruto teased before kissing Sasuke playfully on the nose. Now come on, we have to find this Sasori guy. Give me your hand first. Sasuke extended his own. Sakura is not going to get jealous. She won't even know about it. Besides, I'm only doing this because I don't want us to get separated. Ready when you are. The blonde happily hooked his fingers within the raven's moments before they burrowed into the crowd ahead. The end. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.